What's going on, fishy friends? I'm excited tonight to be bringing to you the Ocean City edition of the Fishing Corner. My name is Grant Elliott, and I'm your host. The Fishing Corner is brought to you by Old School Custom Baits, Old School Tackle Company. Well, I'm probably going to hear from Brian about that one. But before we do that, our good friends over at Fish Talk Magazine, they put out an article today. I believe Lenny wrote it, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But basically, Maryland DNR is, I don't know if we want to say pushing, but is kind of threatening to put a halt to the current catch and release season. And in the article, they basically say that, basically everyone agrees that the trophy season that we have in the Chesapeake Bay, the time has come for that to end. But now they're trying to add the catch and release season as well. So Fish Talk Magazine, if you go to their Facebook page, the article's posted there. I'm going to post it up here in just a second. But they've provided us a link to go and add public comment to that so your voice can be heard. Because, guys, we all know that the mortality rate on these fish this time of year, these large fish that are coming up into the bay, is next to nothing. I mean, their mouths are this big. Even if they were to swallow a hook and get gut hooked, I've done it myself multiple times, stuck my whole arm down in there, easily unhooked them and sent the fish on its way, and they all kick off strong. So we don't need to make a big argument about that, but because you guys already know it. So go on to Fish Talk Facebook page and click on the link. I'm going to try to make that link public here in just a second. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and try to do that now. And we can go ahead and put that in the chat so you guys can, let's see. Does it? Yep, here we go. So I'm going to just take this post and copy the link and put it into the chat here. Let's hope this works. All right, and there you go. So if you can't click that, then copy and paste it and into your browser and go check that out. Sean Diggity, what's going on, man? How are you, sir? All the way down there in Florida. We are jealous of you right now. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our regular guest, Big Bird, and our special guest for the night, Vince Cannuli. I called you pre-show to make sure that I got that pronunciation right. How are you gentlemen doing?
Great. I've been pronouncing it wrong all along. Now I know.
Well, I know because when I talked to you, you said cannoli.
You got the Eastern Shore pronunciation. You're doing fine, Bird. I'll answer to most things. If you get Vince right, we're in good shape.
There you go.
Amen. As long as it's not Vince A. Holy, right?
Oh, well, hey, now. You're lucky we're on video.
It's like you've been on the show for all of 30 seconds, and I'm already insulting you.
We're already tangled up.
That's the kind of host I am, I suppose. But, Vince, I'm going to make it all up to you because I've heard that you're kind of the Tautog king of Ocean City. That's word on the street.
All right. Well, I do my job. I do my best to bust them up inshore. Certainly not the king of Ocean City Tautog. We have that title goes to some pretty special people who spend far more time on the water than I do. I have to work, so
you got more trophies.
I do. I win my fair share of tournaments fishing for Tautog again. I beat them up pretty good on the inshore bite, and I've taken my share in the ocean. But I have to give kudos, to the.
Oh yeah.
I mean the Ocean City Tautog fishermen, man. That's a tough one right there. We got Monty Hawkins has been doing it for decades. Kane Bound's been busting them up. Captain DJ Churchill, Kevin Twilley. So I mean, these guys are. Well, of course, Kane, right? His boat holds the world record.
Yeah.
With Ken Westerfeld's 28.8 pound Tautog. So I'm just I'm a novice when it comes to some of these guys. But
Well, you're definitely humble, but you sent me some pictures earlier today that, would maybe not confirm what Big Bird told me about you and Tog, but definitely make it seem like you know what you're doing. You run Running Tides uh, Charters. Did I mess up the name of it?
well, Running Tide Charters, yep.
Right,
It's
out of Ocean City.
mhm.
So tell us about that, but also tell us about kind of your fishing journey, how you got started fishing. Are you one of the people that fished from when they were a little boy, or are you one of the people that picked it up later?
Yeah,
And,
yeah. So
talk us through how you got into charter fishing and what keeps you doing it each day.
yeah, sure. Thanks, Grant. Yeah, I'm a lifetime angler. My mom started taking me to the streams of Pennsylvania when I was, she doesn't even remember. It was either 4 or 5, dragging me down to the creek. And uh, yeah, we trout fished. We went to ponds. We caught, panfish, bass. As I grew up, hanging around the buddies, we went and chased muskie and carp and catfish. And eventually, when I early teens, um, wound up in southern Jersey, and that's where the saltwater bug bit. Couldn't get enough. My grandfather was up at Margate. he loved to he loved to go crabbing and fishing, and he back then, if it was big enough to bite a hook, he could take it home and make something out of it, right? A couple broiled piece of fish, whatever. He was straight from Sicily, and he loved to eat fish. So I kind of picked. I think that's what goes through my blood, a little bit of that uh, desire for it. But yeah, we grew up chasing bluefish in the 70s and 80s up in Jersey. Striped bass was an oddity. You didn't see them. They didn't exist. They were the ghosts, right, of the fishing world at the time. And yeah, I fished my whole life. When I moved out of the local area when I was in my late teens. Um, Soon got married, started a family, and my wife and I have 6 children. So I've been a deckhander mate for a long time. My youngest is 23, my oldest is 36. So I spent all that time taking my children to ponds and lakes and streams, and ultimately, we've had a place here in Ocean City since the 80s. So it was always short visits. I had to work, etc. So vacation visits. But then in the 2000s, we moved to Connecticut, and I've lived up and down the East Coast. We moved to Connecticut. I found myself in the Long Island Sound, catching porgy the size of hubcaps and tautog and bluefish and serious rockfish. Right? I mean, 50-inch rockfish that was the goal, to get into the 50-inch club. And and
There you
up in
go.
Long Island Sound, it can happen. And as much as I liked it there, I appreciated Ocean City's dynamic of the bay, um, access to the ocean, etc., much more than I liked the Long Island Sound. As my buddy Blake, he loves to tog fish. He likes to flounder fish too. Yeah. So over that period of time, I guess in early 2000, late 90s, early 2000s, we got a boat, brought it down here, and my son started working in some of the tackle shops, and I just fished as much as I possibly could. And in 2007, found myself with an opportunity to go for my captain's license. I went and got licensed, and I've been charter fishing ever since. And like I said, it came kind of natural. It was a natural fit because I had been helping my children fish. When I would take them fishing, it was really a lot of time spent untangling lines, tying hooks, teaching them how to tie hooks, netting fish, the whole family thing. And it's really awesome. They fish with me, team real quick.
Yeah.
We fished the Inshore Classic. We fished every one. I think there's only one or two that we didn't take money in. Dave Caffrey, a good fisherman on the run charters. He got in my way a few times in the tog category, which is really what we specialize in. Um, and I sent you the logo. That's what we myself and my children, we love to tog fish. We'll cast for rockfish, we'll go jig for flounder, etc. But when it comes to serious fishing, we can all sit on the rocks for hours, the entire day, from sun up till sundown, and tog fish. We fished 5-gallon buckets of sand fleas. We've fished, bushels of crabs, just all in a day. And we were laughing recently because we've sat out there and had ice form in the tips of our rods, just sitting there waiting for that bite. And you reel in, you cast back out, and the water collects, and the next thing you know, your guides are all frozen up, and you're sitting out there, kids in blankets. They don't know. Are you ready to go? You're too cold? No, let's keep fishing.
That's good stuff right there.
So,
how old were they when they were like still wanting to fish? Because my 8-year-old, if she's not catching every second, and she gets a little uncomfortable, she's out.
I don't think there was ever a period where they said, no, yeah, I'm all done. I would be done, and they were like, no, Daddy, more, let's just keep at it. They would grind through it, and that kept me going as well, as long as they were into it. And having that many children, and 4 or 5 of them on the boat at a time, I think some of them were afraid to say they wanted to go in for what would happen from the other kids. So anyway,
that's great stuff. And I mean, I can guarantee you, sounds like your kids are a little older, but I can guarantee you that experience you gave your kids was really enriching. My father actually taught me how to fish, but by the time I became a teenager, he kind of just, I don't know if you can grow out of fishing, but he sort of preferred to, sit up on the porch and read the newspaper. And having taught me how to fish, and I love my dad more than anything, but all I wanted for him was for him to come down and fish with me, and to have your kids be able to share that experience with you for that many years, I'm sure was really special to them.
Yeah, I still get to live vicariously through some of their exploits and adventures. 2 of my daughters fished the giant bluefin season last year in North Carolina with Jimmy Hahn, and the one daughter, Philomena, her largest fish that she caught was 110 inches, and Veronica's was 111 inches on rod and reel. And
what
she
kind
reeled
of fish?
bluefin tuna, 111 inches.
Oh gosh, I misheard you.
The
I thought you
giant
were saying bluefish.
Oh, no.
11-inch bluefish? What the heck? Did I miss something?
111-inch bluefin tuna, tail that big. Well, you can't see my hands. Anyway, so then my youngest, who's 23, Veronica was on the boat. She's out. Actually, she called me today. She just made it back to port. She's fishing out of Tampa area. They're long lining for grouper and grouper and snapper.
Yep.
So she's been in the meantime long lining out of North Carolina for swordfish, tilefish, and whatnot. So she's got it really bad right now. And I'm a little bit in the doghouse with Mama because she would rather her on land. But yeah, it runs pretty deep. I have a son out in California. He's a representative for Okuma. He just started with them. He was the general manager of Save on Tackle out in Santa Fe Springs. He has it the worst, I think, of everybody in the family. He just can't. Fish just runs through his body, through his blood. He's got it.
We've got a fishing family. But our fishing family here on the Fishing Corner gets kind of competitive about some stuff sometimes. So Vince, here's how we do stuff. Is pretty soon here, I've got some questions, pre-rigged questions for you guys. But pretty soon here, the questions from the audience are going to take over. And generally, it lasts us for the rest of the show. I think Big Bird can attest to that. And there's a prize at the end for question of the night. So here's how we're going to do it with 3 of us. Big Bird knows the deal. He's going to pick a question that he thinks is the question of the night. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to pick a question for the question of the night. And Vince, so everyone can get mad at you, we're going to let you pick the winner.
Okay.
So it's going to be between my question and Big Bird's question, and the winner will win this pack of actually quite pertinent soft plastics right now. These things are crushing it for striped bass in deep water right now. It's probably more of a bay thing than an Ocean City thing for you guys right now, but you know, you guys are what, an hour and a half away from being able to fish the bay? 45 minutes maybe?
Yeah, 45 minutes.
It's not far at all. I mean,
yeah, no.
Depends on what part of the bay you want to enter. Like Chrisfield, it's farther, but you can go to Deal Island, it's closer, and you can work your way right up to Salisbury. I mean, there's different areas.
Well, Big Bird, I don't think I've ever gone this long into a show without like talking to you.
Vince has got a lot of knowledge, and
he's got a lot of stuff.
His whole family is a fishing family.
I wanted to tell you, Big Bird, that I'm going out in the bay tomorrow, and I have all my rods tied up, and I tied on my lightest one. I tied a Roy rig, so I'm going to try to catch one of those 50-inch hogs on a Roy rig tomorrow.
I got a 53 on one.
That's the moneymaker right there. That Roy rig, that does the job.
It sure does. I tell people this all the time. The first time I came to Ocean City to fish with Bird, it was one of the most unusual things I'd ever seen. Everyone that fished in that inlet knew him, right? So, like, imagine fishing on a lake and everybody knows the guy you're fishing with. Okay, that's probably not that weird. But take it a step farther, every single person was fishing with a Roy rig. I'm like, what? This is a tight-knit community here.
I remember when the stickers started showing up, the bumper stickers.
Yep.
Bird and Dave. Well, Dave was his full-time fishing partner back then. Neighbor Dave. He was on that boat all the time. Man, they had Roy rig everywhere.
Yeah. Then Outdoors Delmarva, and you had Hooked on OC. I was getting on them shows all the time.
Yeah. So, guys, if you're at home, go ahead and start getting your questions in. We've already got a few that's come in, and we'll get to those in just a second. I see Robert Figliozzi's on here, so he's probably going to be mad at me for stealing his question. But my question to you, Vince, that kind of comes through him is he's fished those rocks in Ocean City as well. And he says the most frustrating thing about tog fishing is he says down those rocks there must be 5 billion broken off rigs.
And if you ain't getting stuck, you're fishing in the wrong spot.
All right. If you're not getting stuck, you're fishing in the wrong spot. But is there any way, because that's where this guy, Robert Figliozzi, we call him Fig, has lost sleep thinking about a way to rig a tog bait that doesn't get stuck in the rocks? Is there any way to minimize your lost rigs?
So there's two reasons you get stuck in the rocks. One, probably three, right? One, your sinker gets lodged in between two pieces because you're dragging it across the rocks. Two, it's bad luck you get stuck in somebody else's entanglement down there. And three, you didn't set the hook fast enough, and the fish took your crab and drug you under the rock. That's how it happens. It's that quick. As we say, for new people coming out, when I'm running charters, they always ask me, well, when do I set the hook? I said, set the hook just before he bites, and you'll catch him every time. And right. So you play that through your head, and you do have to learn the habit of the tog in order to be successful. And it's not the first bump. And depending on water temperatures, when it's warmer, they could be a little more aggressive. When the water's a little turbid, I find them to be a little more, little subtle. Sometimes they just pick up your bait and they suck on it and hold it. And you have to be that sensitive to recognize the difference between the current pulling your line a little bit and a fish picking up your bait and either giving you tension or just a tiny bit more weight that was just like, what was that? Set the hook. The fish is probably on there. Keeping your weights out of the rocks. A lot of people like round weights. People have used flat non-stick weights or I don't even know what they're called. I use a bank sinker. No matter where I am. Bell sinkers are actually my preferred, but I refuse to pay for bell sinkers anymore. I have some molds, but I don't like to pour lead and all that mess. They used to give me the least fits. And again, some guys like a flat sinker. Other people like river sinkers, which are flat like a donut. Spark plugs. That's how I grew up. My grandfather couldn't afford weights for us, so we used rubber bands and spark plugs. That's from Howie there. If DNR catches you throwing spark plugs in their bay today, you might get. But anyway, so the goal is just enough weight to hit bottom, not so much that you're digging into the bottom, but just enough to get you down and hold you. Again, I've conceded that bank sinkers work just as well as every other sinker. No hardware. Get rid of all the metal stuff on your line except for your weight and your hook, right? Snap swivels and things like that, they all just get in the way. These metal hard high-low rigs and things, no bueno for Tautog. Go to a straight dropper loop, 6 to 8 inches above your weight. Base size hooks are, typically 2/0 are fine for our bay size Tautog.
Got it.
And you got the new grub heads they're making. I do pretty good not getting them hung up. That's why I kind of getting into using them more. It's a grub head made for putting sand fleas on and holds the sand fleas up. I mean, I've used them a few times not to get not to get hooked on the bottom. They seem to be
so the weight sits on the bottom and the hook sits up a little bit. Is that what you're saying, Bird?
Yep.
Yeah. So jigging for tog, or using jigs for tog, a different kind of technique. It works very well vertical fishing. Casting, not so much. But if you can get over top of the hole that you want to fish, if you're in a boat and you're out along the jetty or along the pilings at the bridge or bulkhead somewhere where you can fish vertically, the jigs are great. When you start casting them, they you really have to become proficient at it. If you're having trouble losing bank sinkers, you're going to lose a lot of jigs. Mm-hmm. But so good point. I mean,
start with the bank sinker, the 2/0 hook, and the crab, right?
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what we, on my charters. That's how we typically start out: is bank sinker with a 2/0 hook. If I have young ones on there, I'll even go to an owner Mutu light 2/0 circle. And people say, I can't use circles for tog. Well, I'm going to tell you what, little kids, I see little kids, even my grandchildren, 5, 6 years old, have caught 5, 6 pound tog, 4 or 5 pound tog off of the jetty on circle hooks.
So what's the benefit of pairing a young angler with a circle hook? Is it just?
Yeah, the fish will hook themselves. They're going to pick up the crab, start swimming away. They get a little bit of pressure. The kid starts reeling. You don't have to set the hook. You don't need the strike to get the hook set solidly into their mouth. You oftentimes get, it just like in the bass and flounder, it'll slide to the side of their mouth.
So, but tog have really hard mouths. Is that right?
Well, interiorly, yes, right. So they have an upper jaw and lower jaw like all animals, but they have crushers that line their mouth, and their jawbone's very thick, but they have a lot of flesh on the corners of their mouth where a circle hook can connect.
Got it.
So you catch them right in the lips, and they're pretty stout. I mean,
we got lots of questions rolling in.
Yeah.
One of them is for Bird. I don't need Big Bird getting too bored on me. It says, "Hey Bird, what's your preferred rod and reel setup for throwing the Roy around the jetty and bridges for rockfish and bluefish?"
I use a star rod, medium to heavy action. I mean, that's my favorite rod. The old star rods. I'm always on the lookout for them. They're very It's like what Vince is saying. The rod is the most important thing because the fishing like that is so sensitive. With the Roy rig, as soon as you feel that bump, you're setting the hook. And with my power, I use Power Pro line to that star rod. I love a star rod.
Or your star rod, that's a Stellar Light, isn't it?
Yes, it's a Stellar Light.
A Stellar Light, yeah.
Yep. If I'll be going to the Laurel Fire Department, I think it's next week for their annual tackle show. It's a very good tackle show. And the first thing I do is run around the place, see if I can find an old star rod. The old one's got the American flag on it and everything. I love the old ones, and I get them rewrapped. So because they're real sensitive.
I can attest. I remember when Bird bought that Stellar Light before he had his current boat.
Yeah.
He's been fishing it ever since.
Had it wrapped 4 different times.
Now, Bird, I didn't know about this. What did you fish out of before you had your current boat?
Land.
His boots.
Yeah. Where we used to call Stinky Beach is where the Roy rig got invented. I worked highway. I ran a great big milling machine on the highways and ran front end loaders and everything else. And one of my foremans, Roy, he would come down there and he brought the tail down there one time to me. And I said, man, with the right head. And oh man, it was funny. My sister used to get so mad at me for swimming it through her swimming pool because I was doing different. I messed with it, several different heads till I got it to. I thought it swam right. And for some reason, it works. So. But I'm all about a star rod.
And that's still a good place to fish. It's now called Homer Godesky Park.
Yeah.
Locals know it as Stinky Beach, but Homer Godesky Park, still a great place to fish.
Oh,
that's where the hour hole is.
You roll down, let them run around.
Yeah.
Got a couple kind of not quite housekeeping questions, but quick ones. Hey, Grant, are you going to the OC Boat Show? Big Bird, when is it?
Around the 7th, 16th, 17th, 18th. I think it's around the 17th. Yeah.
February.
I'll be on stage with Scott Lennox Saturday, I think at 1:00, helping him with a lecture.
Can we go fishing anytime around there if I come for 2 days?
You can go there. Route 90 bridge is still, it's stupid how Route 90.
I want to fish with you, dude. Come on.
I think he said we meant you, Bird.
Well, it's possible, but I'm usually putting stuff up because I'm getting ready to go down to Daytona for bike.
Oh, that's right, for bike week.
Dirty Bikers come every year.
Yeah. Big Vince, he's asking what's going on with the rockfish regulations. In a nutshell, real quick, Maryland DNR is talking about shutting down the catch and release that's going on in the Chesapeake Bay. Look at the link at the top of the chat. If you follow that link, there's an opportunity for you to leave public comment. I strongly encourage you guys to do that. Jason Penn asked if you could only have one bait for the rest of your life. I think this is probably directed towards you, Vince, because these are live baits, and in my time of fishing with Bird, he's never used a live bait.
I have a question. I have a question for Jason though. Would it be a lifetime supply, or would I have to go chase them?
We're gonna say you get a lifetime supply of it.
Okay.
So
Asian short
basically, you wake up, you pick up a bait bucket, and it's got your bait of choice.
Hands down, Asian short crabs.
Asian short crabs.
And I say that that's for inshore tog fishing. Offshore tog fishing, I take white leggers every chance. Unfortunately, the offshore, so the inshore tog will eat white leggers. But wow, no, you need to catch them. See, that's what I was afraid of. Forget that.
He said no.
White leggers.
All you can ever get, no need to catch them.
Oh, no need to catch them. Okay, yeah, all you ever. So yeah, Asian shore crabs for inshore all day. We were able to catch. I lived in Connecticut for 10 years, like I said, Long Island Sound. We used to catch a 120 quart cooler full in a few hours. That's a lot of crab. And we would bring them down here and keep them in pens, and it would last us a month for myself and children fishing. And people would be like, what are you using? And we'd show them, and there's places here you can catch them, but they're not like, we would go out there with a 3 or 4 gallon bucket full of them and just sit there and use them.
Yep.
And people would go catching for 2 hours around here under the rocks, etc., and come back with a quart or a pint and bloody hands. But they're really plentiful up in Connecticut, in Long Island Sound, North Jersey. And the Asian shore crabs are, as we call them, Tootsie Rolls, but they are candy for Tautog. Now offshore, they don't respond the same way out in the ocean that they do in the coast. Out in the ocean, white leggers all day, every day.
Now let's take the other way of answering this question. Let's assume you had to catch them.
White leggers all day, every day. When you're flipping rocks for Asian shore crabs, because that's where they live, under the rocks between the high and low tide line, right? They live in that wet area under the rocks. Literally, when you're scooping for them, right? It's barnacles, it's broken shell. You're dipping sometimes into mud, and the crabs are biting onto you. And if you get big males, they have huge claws on them. We would catch them the size of silver dollars when you got into the big ones, and they hurt. So you definitely got cut up most of the time when you were out looking for them. But it was worth it to have a big cooler full.
Is there a place in Ocean City for someone to get those Asian crabs?
Nope. No, we used to supply a shop down here, Skip's Bait and Tackle. He used to sell them. Doug McGuire, he used to sell them. What we brought down here, but no, that nobody's down here. We just don't have the volume down here to harvest them,
right? And
transportation, the cost of fuel, etc. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Good stuff. Big Bird,
Yep.
Can you give us a rundown of what's going on at the in the inlet right now in terms of rockfish? What people are seeing?
You're hearing of a few when you get a decent day. We're just getting so much rain down here. They even had a small layer of ice on the bay the other day. I mean, it didn't freeze up, but you knew it was cold. And you're here. I haven't been, but I'm hoping to go one day. We're going up to 70 degrees, so I'm going to run up to 90 because 90 it's just too much fun. I'm grabbing my lightest rod, like freshwater rods, and going up there and just letting the reel buzz and the broad bend, and trying to get things ready for the boat show. So the big boat show in Ocean City, which I'll be there every day. I help out a few of the local shops around here hauling boats over. So
can people buy Roy rigs from you at the show if they want?
I think Scott has a booth there. He'll have them there.
Good stuff.
At the boat show, when I give the conference, I'm going to give a bunch away, and they've even got an outboard motor they're giving away free during Scott's flounder seminar.
So, Bird, do you think that the warm weather that we're seeing throughout this week is going to fire up that bite at the 90 bridge?
Yeah, it hasn't stopped. The guys have been. I mean, there's a few of the guys around here. They've been going up there in their kayaks religiously. And I'm just like, no, I ain't going near no kayak and no 40-some degree water temperature. But the one thing they're saying is they're in the shallows. They're not deep. They're over in the shallow parts of the Route 90 bridge. And they're getting, I know of 10 keepers that have come out of up there this year. Most time they're just usually small, but this year that bite up there by that bridge has been great. So.
Yeah, those Grant, the resident fish. I used to duck hunt up there a lot, and a few of the guys from the Pines. You just got to get above the bridge there. It's 4 to 5 feet across the entire St. Martin's River, and just go to pilings. Don't focus on just the bridge. Look up the river and look for old docks that are sitting out there. There's a whole bunch of them on the right and the left, between Ocean Pines and the Bishopville side. Of the island, the Isle of Wight Island there. Just go up and start hitting those pilings, and you're in 3 feet, 4 feet of water. Those fish are just laying in between them, laying around that structure. A lot of rockfish up there this time of year.
The Route 54 ditch too. The guys have been hitting them up in that ditch.
Yeah, up on the east side behind Harpoon Harness.
And the only thing they'll hit is a Roy rig, right?
It's one of the things they will eat. I'm sure they'll eat a lot of other things.
It worked as well as it was. I remember when I was in every issue of the Coastal Fisherman one year, and everybody was like, "What's he doing? What's he doing?" And the guy that introduced me to the tail is who I named it after, Roy. I mean,
so real quick, guys, I forgot. I put it in the comments on the Tight Lines Facebook, but Facebook is being Facebook. So if you're trying to watch through the Tight Lines Facebook page, you may not be able to ask questions. And this shows, if you've watched it at all, is very much based on audience participation. So if you want to ask a question for now, and I think it's going to be resolved soon, go to either the Tight Lines Company on YouTube or the same thing, or Grant Elliott, my personal page on Facebook. You can ask questions on either one of those. So I was asked to mention that, so I'm going ahead and doing that. Michael Cool asked, where would be a good spot that a newbie could go offshore, I'm assuming from Ocean City, that's not too far, 20 to 30 miles, to have success with multiple species? That's probably a question for you, Vince, although I don't know if you go that far out.
Yeah. So, right, I suspect for definition, right? When someone says offshore up to 20 or 30 miles, it's near shore up to about 40. Then you start hitting what we call the offshore regions. So not
canyons and stuff, right?
Nothing against what you're saying, Michael. Just for clarification, right? So our nearshore wrecks and reefs. I've caught 10-pound tog on Russell's Reef. My biggest sea bass, which Grant put well, actually, it didn't show up on my Expert Anglers Award, was 23.5 inches, just 5 miles outside the inlet. The Ocean City Reef Foundation has the reef books. It's a great way. I think it's the best way, the simplest way to start. And that is get familiar with your electronics, so you can use your bottom machine, your GPS, so you can put your coordinates of where you want to try. Stay close. Try the Little Gull Shoal or Kelly's Reef. Try Russell's Reef. Try Purnell's Reef. And I'm assuming maybe summertime, Michael, warmer weather. If you're looking for colder weather, of course, you got to go a little bit deeper. And then you're talking going out towards the Great Eastern Reef, which is 22 miles. Down to the Jack Spot, which is 20 plus miles. Great places, but you can I troll at the Fenwick Shoals. Great place for Spanish mackerel, ribbon fish. In fact, Delaware State king mackerel record was just set this past summer on Fenwick Shoal, right by the light. So good fishing real close by. Isle of Wight Shoal, another great place. Caught a bluefin tuna there this early December, and then caught another one at the First Lump, which is just outside the bass grounds. So that's only 12 miles from the inlet for my second bluefin this year.
Vince, real quick, because I am an admitted tog noob. I've caught them. I hate to say, you can't really call tog a bycatch, but in fishing for other species, I've caught them. But that's really it. I caught one with Big Bird not too long ago.
What was it caught on?
What's that?
What was that tog caught on?
That was a road rig. Sure was. But what would you call, Vince, the tog season?
Oh,
is there a tog season?
Yep, January 1st to December 31st.
Yep.
There is closure, and it's May 16th through July 1st. So there is a closure on tog, and that's pretty much their spawning season. And you'll find in late April into early May, if you are tog fishing, the females you're catching will pretty much be laden. Oftentimes, the sides of their bellies, the females are camouflaged, so they have kind of lines and swirls and mottled look, whereas the males are predominantly gray with a white spot on their side. But the females, when they're so laden, they'll stretch out to where they'll have big white areas. Like you could see through the scales. They're carrying that many eggs. You bring them in the boat, their eggs are going everywhere. So really, once this starts to happen, I just stop fishing for them. But the state says you have to stop May 16th.
When do you think is the most effective time legally to fish for tautog?
Any day that you can get out on the water and it is not horrible weather. Right, I just fished last Monday. A friend of mine, Anthony Puglisi, and I, we ran 20 miles up to the Delaware Light and had a great day of fishing. It was snow and it was cold. We left the ramp, it was 20 degrees. So 20 degrees at 30 miles an hour brought us to about 8 degrees wind chill factor. We got there, we fished all day. Coming back, it was snowing ridiculous, and snow hurts when you're going 30 miles an hour. And I have a center console, and but any day that you can get out, I have a windshield, but it's not full. I have a gap above, and I just started doing marine vinyl in the last year, so now I'm making cushions and curtains and this type of thing. And like the shoemaker's kid, I still haven't made my own curtains, but it's coming fast. Before April, I will have curtains on my boat. So yeah, I mean, really, it's about opportunity. If the weather's decent, now I will say this: I say anytime, if the water falls below 40 degrees, the bite really slows down. You need to go to soft baits, shrimp, mussels, clam, that type of thing, to entice them if they'll eat. But once it gets down below 45, really, or I should say the low 40s, I don't know specifically. I've noticed when you get down below 45, the bite slows a little bit. You get down below 40, and they stop eating crabs. I'm told because they can't digest the crustacean, so they will only eat soft foods.
Okay.
But I don't know that. I mean, that's just a say.
How often does the ocean there get below 40?
Oh, usually every year there's a component to it that'll drop down. Our bay has already been in the 30s, so and that's what I'm referring to. I mean, our deep ocean doesn't get below 40. You can pretty much find 50-degree water. You just have to keep going further out.
Okay. Let's see. Rodney Green asked, as kind of I guess he started with what is most important in catching fish. So I guess he's talking about what factor do you think is the most important in catching fish? I'll jump in on that one, I guess, Rodney. I think finding fish is 90% of it. If you find fish, they're usually not that hard to catch. I'll let you guys jump in on that as well.
I say it's the bump. Knowing what the bottom feels like and knowing, bam, that's a fish, because you got to set the hook.
I think it's a complex question, Rodney. It's a good question. The most important part of catching fish, like Grant said, it's opportunity. You have to intersect your path with the fish's path. What Bird said, you need to be cognizant of what you're doing, right? Patience, and learning. Okay, so I compare fishing. I contrast fishing to hunting. Hunting, you take a weapon of some form. You see the animal and you harvest the animal. You shoot the animal or whatever you're doing to capture that animal. Fishing, you have to trigger its actual response. You need to get the fish to cooperate with you. It doesn't just happen automatically. If the fish is already eaten and he's full, he won't eat. If the pressure is a very strong gradient, high, increasing or dropping, sometimes it just shuts the bite down. The fish will not eat. Big storms coming in, but it's only, it's a half a day out. The pressure hasn't changed much. Oftentimes the fish go on a feed. What's the most important? Getting out on the water and making the opportunity. You definitely won't catch them from the sofa. So it's time and place and refining your skill.
Rodney also asked, I think he's talking about tautog fishing. How about using football head sinkers? Have you ever tried doing that?
We've tried every shape of sinker that we could locate, and for me, it really hasn't. We're so when I fish the bay, I cast a lot, and I cast pretty far. And when you cast a lot, you're doesn't matter what you really have tied on the end of your line. Rocks are piled together, and there's always going to be a V for something you get stuck into. Nothing really climbs up over top of them. When I get hung up, I will say this: that the most productive way of getting me unhung is jigging my rod as absolutely fast as I can in a rhythmic tempo that will possibly spin that weight up out of the way. Just bop, 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 and just keep going at it, trying to get it to flip itself out or work itself out. Otherwise, it's break it off, tie another one on.
And you just accept with this type of fishing that you're going to lose some.
If you're not getting stuck, you're not fishing in the right place. That's how the top victory is.
M.R. Johnson asked, do you use sweeper jigs?
I do. I do use sweeper jigs. I'm not a crazy. When I first started jig fishing, you put a picture of Blake up there. He makes some crazy, awesome jigs, and he got me jig fishing. And I broke off I think was probably the biggest fish of biggest tautog. My current personal best is 15 pounds, but I'm pretty certain the fish that I lost on that jig was far bigger, as it bent the hook as well as spit the hook after it bent out. And I had no chance of stopping that fish. Wow. So I'm not a big proponent of jig fishing, although I enjoy it. I can't say that I've had a similar problem with a rig to this point. I've broken off big fish on a rig, obviously, but usually you can feel them in structure. You can feel them in a wreck, rubbing against material. You feel that, that grinding through the rod. You're like, oh man, I know I'm wrapped up and he's digging. It happens. But I had this fish well up off the bottom, and it just, poor hook set, I guess. I mean, the hook was a double X strong. I mean, it was the right gear. It just, yes, bottom sweepers, in my opinion, are the better tog jig, best shape.
Let's see. Howie DeWitt, and I'll let you answer this one, Bert, and Vince, you can jump on. In your opinions, what is the perfect boat to fish in the OC Back Bay, inlet, and jetties?
Well, I love my boat. I think a flat bottom boat where like me and Vince could be standing on one side of it and the boat's just sitting there flat. You're gonna hate it when it's rough because they will wet you. I mean, something flat bottom. When I first really was looking at boats to fish around the 50 Bridge, the Verrazano, around the rock pile, I was looking at a bass boat with a trolling motor and all that stuff on it.
I think a bass boat would be just fine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Something small and where you can go shallow. And it's as soon as I get back from Florida, my first job that I do is I go all around 50 Bridge, measure all my depths, check everything, find out where the holes are. Just, this time of year when we get one of our really shallow days, I'll walk up on the bridge and just look down because the sand around Ocean City changes every year. Where your hot spot is this year, it's going to be 10 foot down or another pillar down or whatever. But a flat bottom, something that's real my boat was designed to pull crab pots. You can stand on one side of it and pull them up, so it's just something flat bottom.
Yeah, Bert's got a nice boat. It's called a Chincoteague Scow. It really depends on what you're after, to say to fish. If it's exclusively a fishing boat, you won't want to do anything else with it. Then, the Chincoteague Scows form a nice little Carolina Skiffs 178 or a 198. If you absolutely don't intend to go out, if you don't intend to go out into the ocean at all, if you got a 198, you can go to the ocean, DLV or something. Yep. But I personally, my absolute favorite boat that I've ever owned for fishing in the bay was a little 20-foot pontoon boat. I removed all the furniture. All I had was railings, coolers, and on occasion a chair.
It's a moving dock.
It's a floating dock that it didn't matter how much gear you put on that boat. it just, you had room for everything and anything. It's 360-degree fishable. I mounted my console right in the middle, near the stern, and
I remember that boat.
right, the crack patch. I bought it for $300. We ran the thing for 3 seasons. What a blast! While my other boat was getting worked on. Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to what. Yeah, I don't know that there is the best boat is the one that you can afford to get out on the water as much as possible with. That's the best one.
Yeah,
They're
Big Bird, I
usually
like your answer. I like both of your answers. The bass boat and the pontoon boat. I think, in my times of being in the Ocean City Inlet, I'm sure there are some gnarly days where the wind kicks up the wrong direction, but it seems pretty protected.
Oh, it ain't.
Yeah, the inlet's no place to play around in any kind of small craft. Being close to the rocks is okay to the extent that you're fishing in coming tides, etc. But outgoing tides get very treacherous, especially
I almost got pulled out of the kayak one time.
Wind. Yeah, but the rest of the bay, from the Verrazano Bridge in south all the way up to
Fenwick Ditch.
the Fenwick Ditch and into the bay back there, up, you can go to the Indian River Bay. It's just one long ride.
Yeah. Question from Colin with Big Yacker Fishing: are bottom sweepers just as effective in OC as they are in the Long Island Sound?
Yes. Unequivocally.
Taking on that to carry us 5 minutes, Vince, and you
What,
answered.
you want more about it? Don't cast them. They're great for vertical jigging. You're not really jigging, but yeah, they're great for vertical dropping along the bridge pilings, along the bulkheads. There's so many bulkheads that people don't even get to fish because they concentrate too much on where they see other people fishing. So think out of the box, look around the bay, find a bulkhead, find some pilings, and go try. We've gotten beat in a few tournaments when the Bahia Marina Fishtails used to have the old Rocktoberfest, and we would tog fish. We togged fish through storms. Boats have capsized during that tournament. I mean, it really is. And where? Oh, we went to here, this hole in the wall. Not the hole in the wall, but we went to this little spot, and they told me what, an old oyster bar that we have in Ocean City where they used to pop oysters. So it's a big sandbar covered in oyster shell. A lot of sand now, but it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Figliozzi asks, and we're getting pretty close, guys. So if you have a question, go ahead and ask it because we're getting pretty close to the end of the night. But Robert Figliozzi asks, do you think trolling puts more stress on fish than casting from a boat for catch and release?
Do we think trolling puts more stress on fish than casting? Oh, casting from a driving boat? Just casting from a boat?
I think it means casting from a boat. Yeah, basically he's saying like jigging and casting versus trolling, I believe.
Versus trolling. Yeah, I suspect that trolling puts
a drifting boat. He corrected his statement.
Yeah, so I'd suspect that right, if you're trolling along and a fish grabs onto your lure, his mouth is now extended, and your boat's still moving, and as Grant pointed out, his mouth's that big. Doesn't put more stress on him. I'm not positive either way.
Yeah. My guess is
that everybody mad. Trolling ain't fishing.
I like that. That's an opinion, Bird. That's okay.
Oh, I know. Well, I don't troll. I'm a caster. I love casting out. The boats I've been on before that were trolling, you hook up to the fish, they don't even slow down. You're cranking in the fish through the water as well as the boat's pulling you along too. So,
well, I was just going to say that I think there's again, it's a compound. It's a question that deserves a compound answer because there's If you're trolling, your gear is probably much more stout than if you're casting. If you're casting, now we're comparing what did the fish endure through being reeled in, maybe on the bullish side, being muscled in, versus you're extending the fight substantially longer on light tackle. Now the fish is worn down from a different reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I can't say it that much because when I'm running them stretches under Route 50 bridge, it's just like trolling. I mean,
yeah,
you're yanking them in like a freshwater jerk bait.
I was gonna say that, Big Bird. I would say that the dredging that you do, that's kind of active trolling because you're not just putting a rod in the holder and pulling it through.
No, you got it in your hand.
Yeah, you're doing a little bit of something.
Rods in a rod holder ain't worth nothing. You got to have it in your hand and feel that bump. I know.
Yeah.
That's why I get in trouble.
Opinion, but it's we have you guys on to share your opinions. Last question of the night, I think, is a great. Actually, we have one other that I think is, I hope is a joke. But Sean from Florida asked, "Where's the best spot you're guaranteed to catch fish?" And I'm going to say, if you find structure and current, you're likely to find fish. Nobody's going to give you that, Sean. Come on now.
Go to Route 50.
I'll tell you what, Sean. I'll tell you what.
Big Bird will tell you the spots.
Oh, yeah.
Sean, we'll tell you all the spots you can go try. Book a trip with me. It'll be free if you don't catch a fish.
There you go. And that leads us to our last question of the night. And Sean says it was a joke, which I think is a perfect way to end the questions, which is, Vince, what's your charter's name? And do you have any dates for the next month?
Running Tide Charters, and I do. You can find me on Fishing Booker. You can find me on Facebook. If you find me on Facebook, or just give me a call. I'll shout out the number. Grant, you could post it there. It's 443.
Hang on. What is it? Go ahead.
443-424-3474. Just give me a call. We'll
443-424-3474.
Yep.
Got it.
It's 424-FISH. That's what it's spelled. Yeah. That's a white. It's a Whitehall number. Everybody says, "Well, I thought you're in Ocean City." I said, "Well, I am, but it's the only one I could find that had fish at the end."
That's convenient.
Yeah.
Sean says, "Deal." So Sean, you should come up here and go fishing with Shore Sharp, and you guys can book the trip. And matter of fact, if you guys do that, I'll come along as well. And
right on.
Actually, Sean, I'll make this deal with you. If you come up from Florida, Sean, I'll pay for your trip on Vince's boat. That's what? What's a walk on your boat? $200?
8,000.
8,000. Okay. Well, we might have to renegotiate. But...
I'm sorry, that was Grant's rates. For everybody else, it's $550 for a 4-hour trip. Just
that
kidding.
Was good. That was good.
That's for messing with my name.
Right. Which is Vince, Perfect Gentleman, Cannuli, right?
Yeah, that's right. You got it right now.
Sean says,
"Yeah, so we could work something. Just give me a call directly. We'll work something out."
Sounds good. Well, guys, we are at that time of night. None of my guests ever remember the name of the person that asked the question, but let's see if Big Bird can break that trend. Big Bird, what was the name of the person and their question that you thought was question of the night?
Howard DeWitt question.
Dang. Mr. DeWitt. What? Howie DeWitt. And what was the question?
I don't know.
Was it
I
perfect boat
remember the name, but I don't get the question.
Was it the perfect boat to fish the back bay?
That's it. One about the boat. Yeah.
All right. So that's one contender, Vince.
Okay.
The next one is, usually I don't choose a question based on the answer, but the answer was so good, I'm going to give it to Jason Penn. If you could have one bait for the rest of your life, fiddlers, greenies, white leggers, Asian shore crabs, or hermits, what would it be? And I'm going to give you a countdown, and when we come back, you'll have a winner for us. So, Ready, Vince?
You go.
I just like using that corny countdown. I don't know why. You know, I just enjoy it.
It's pretty corny, Grant.
Yeah.
Love it.
But you got to have some form of countdown. It's better than staring at me in silence. I'll give you that.
Exactly. So between Howie and what was the other one? Hang on. Howie and Jason. Who's the winner?
So, man, it's tough because I like both questions. If Jason was able to get me Asian short crabs full time, he would be the in the bag winner here.
So
but I like the boat question.
You like the boat question. So Howie DeWitt, I think you're a first time viewer, so I always love when the first time viewers win a prize. Howie, send me a message at Tight Lines Company on Facebook. I need your address and your name, really. Email address, name, and mailing address, and I will get this prize out to you within the week. And again, the prize is from Old School Tackle Company. It is OG Eels, which is a deep water assassin for rockfish right now. So it's a nice big bait. It's also, I don't know how you say, conical, I guess. So it's a 9-inch bait. If you want it to be 7, you can just cut 2 inches off the thick part, and it still works just as well. It's not like irregular in the body. But that is it. Vince, to close this out, can you tell people what they can expect when they come on Running Tide Charters?
They can expect to fish. We're going to fish. I can't promise you we're going to catch. It doesn't go across the board, but only for whoever asked the question. I would honor what I said I'd do, but we do go fishing hard. We provide all the water you could drink, nice and cold in the cooler. The boat is a center console. We try to get to our spots fast enough without making it a long ride. It's very comfortable to ride on, being a catamaran. And, I enjoy fishing so much that taking people fishing and watching them connect is it's awesome for me. I enjoy that as much as holding the pole.
Well, that's good stuff. And I can attest those dual hull catamaran boats are incredibly stable and very comfortable to ride on. Big Bird, what are you going to be up to? Tell us about the boat show, and if you got anything else going on.
I'm getting, like I said, with the temperatures warming back up, I'm going to go up there and play at 50. I mean, I'm Route 90 bridge because they're schooled up. I might run down to the Verrazano bridge just to give it a chance. Getting ready to get out. Like I said, the boat show is coming up, which I love the boat show. I just hang around. If anybody's got any questions, ask me at the boat show. I'll tell you any spot and how I do it, and I wish you all the best of luck. And you too, Vince. Vince is going out tomorrow after, so good luck, brothers.
Thank you.
Just like Vince said, you ain't gonna catch nothing unless you got the rod in hand, not sitting on the sofa. I mean,
that's right.
Well, I'm going to take the rod and put it in my hand and go out tomorrow.
There you go.
30. So, Vince, good luck to you, and let's hope we get on.
Same to you, Grant.
Guys, thanks so much for watching. Audience, thanks so much for all the great questions tonight. Vince, thanks for coming on. And Big Bird, you're the man as always. Everyone have a great night, and we will see you. We're taking a little bit of a break because there's 4 Tuesdays in January. So I get the 5 Tuesdays in January, and we've got 4 shows. So I got next week off, but we'll be back with Walleye Pete and Tom Weaver for the Mid-Chesapeake Bay Report in about 2 weeks. So thanks so much for watching, and Tight Lines. We'll catch you next time.